Hey, we're back again. All right. I hope everybody in the United States had a good Thanksgiving. Today we're going to be reading chapter 4 of Teachings for Victory, volume 6. Okay, it's the wealthy man Sudatta. And the gosho itself is on page 1086 and 1087, and as well as the background. I'll start out with the background. This is a great gosho. It's a great lecture, actually. It's a much more broad lecture than you might think. It says, okay, the background on page 1087. This letter was written at Minobu in the winter of 1280 and sent to Nanja Tokimitsu, the young steward of Ueno village in Suruga province. Since Nichiren Daishonin had come to live in Minobu, Tokimitsu had been particularly close to Nikko Shonin, supporting his propagation efforts in the Fuji area. During the Asahara persecution, he used his influence to protect other believers, sheltering some of his own in his own home and negotiating for the release of others who had been imprisoned. The Daishonin honored him for his courage by calling him Ueno the Worthy, though the young man was barely 20 at the time. This letter was written just over a year after the worst period of the Asahara persecution. The authorities in Kamakura, in retaliation for Tokimitsu's support of the Daishonin's followers, had imposed heavy punitive taxes on his estate and demanded that he supply men for unpaid labor. Despite his own destitution, however, Tokimitsu's first concern was for the Daishonin, and he somehow managed to send him 1,000 coins. Deeply touched, the Daishonin wrote him this response. Okay, so I'll read the whole gosho starting on page 1086 of volume 1 of Writings of Nichiren Daishonin. Excuse me here. It says, I have received your offerings of 1,000 coins. Because you have demonstrated such sincerity, I will tell you something. You must not think that I am a greedy priest. I will teach you how to become a Buddha easily. Teaching another something that is the same as oiling the wheels of a cart so that they turn even though it is heavy, or as a floating a boat on water so that it moves ahead easily. The way to become a Buddha easily is nothing special. It is the same as giving water to a thirsty person in a time of drought, or as providing fire for a person freezing in the cold. Or again, it is the same as giving another something that is one of a kind, or as an offering, or as offering something as alms to another, even at the risk of one's own life. There was once a ruler called King Golden Color. For 12 years, his country was besieged by a severe drought, and countless numbers of people died of starvation. In the rivers, corpses were treated as bridges, and on land, skeletons were regarded as burial grounds. At that time, King Golden Color roused a great aspiration to save others and distributed a vast quantity of alms. He gave away everything he could until a mere 5 measures of rice remained in his storehouse. When his ministers informed him that this would provide him with food for a single day, the great king took up each of the 5 measures of rice and let each of his starving subjects have, for example, 1 or 2 grains, or 3 or 4 grains. Then he looked up to the heavens and raised his voice, crying out that he would take the pain of all the people's hunger and thirst on himself and die of starvation. The heavenly gods heard him and instantly sent down the sweet rain of immortality. All of those people whose bodies this rain touched, or whose faces it fell upon, became satiated with food, and in the space of a moment, the inhabitants of the entire country revived. In India, there was a wealthy man called Sudatta. 7 times he became poor, and 7 times he became a wealthy man. During his last period of poverty, when all the people had fled or perished, and only he and his wife remained, they had 5 measures of rice that would nourish them for 5 days. At that time, 5 people, Maheka Shayapa, Shariputra, Ananda, Rahula, and Shakyamuni Buddha came one after another to beg for the 5 measures of rice, which Sudatta gave them. From that day on, Sudatta was the wealthiest man in all India, and he built Jetavana monastery. From this you should understand all things. So do you guys all understand the point of those examples and what he was actually saying there? President Cato will explain it. Just as a monkey resembles a man, but remember that he says, from this you should understand all things, because he's saying what I just said there in those few paragraphs is the secret. It's the key. Okay? And it's really not about the action. Okay? It's about the intent. All right? Just as a monkey resembles a man and a rice cake resembles the moon, you already resemble the votary of the Lotus Sutra. Because you so earnestly protected my followers in Atsuhara, the people of this country consider you to be like Masaka Kado of the Shohei era, or Sadato of the Tengi era. This is solely because you have devoted your life to the Lotus Sutra. The heavenly gods do not in the least regard you as a man who has betrayed his Lord. In addition, having had numerous public works forcibly assigned to your little village, you yourself lack the horse you should be riding, and your wife and children lack the clothing they should be wearing. You're feeling anxious that the votary of the Lotus Sutra was probably being assailed by snow amidst the mountains and in want of food, and sending me 1,000 coins, even in such circumstances, is exactly like the poor woman giving a begging monk the single garment that she and her husband wore, or like Rida giving the millet in his jar to a Prakyeka Buddha. How admirable, how noble. I will speak to you in more detail later. With my deep respect, Nichiren, the 27th day of the 12th month of the 3rd year of Koan. Okay, so going to the lecture. Did you guys catch what he was saying there, though? All right. President Akeda is going to basically qualify this lecture as on the basis of raising capable people. Okay? But if you think about it, in reality, it's the manner in which we should actually approach all people. Okay? And in that process, we will we'll raise capable people, but this is really something that you could carry to your children or to your co-workers or to anybody that you might somehow bring a spark of life into their life, to bring them through a hard time. So we've already read the gosho, but the main title underneath the portion in the lecture says, imparting hope, courage, and inspiration to each person. And he's really genuinely talking about each person, not just people you like. He says, the lecture on page 46. When my mentor, second Soka Gakkai president Josei Toda, spoke with young people, he would often share his insights on various events and developments in history and stress how important it is to foster capable people for the future of Kosen Rufu. He noted how in some periods of history, the absence of capable individuals led to the collapse of a country or a civilization, while in others, the presence of many capable individuals produced an age of flourishing. He also pointed out specific crises that had been overcome because of capable and talented figures. All right, can everybody relate to that comment? There are times when we have wise leaders, and there are times when we have leaders that maybe lacks a certain amount of wisdom, and the entire country reflects the actions and the efforts of those individuals at the top. That's why he's talking about leaders and leadership. Now, when he's talking about leaders and leadership, and he's talking about raising capable people, what is he already assuming of you? That you are already a capable person and a leader yourself. Right. Okay, and that you've taken on that responsibility because you've taken the vow of a bodhisattva. All right? He says, the great undertaking of Kosen Rufu, he emphasized, requires fresh passion and energy appropriate to a new age. It is essential, therefore, for youth to rise into action We need you to believe in the power of youth. So what did he just qualify there? The world is going to be constantly changing. And if we don't take these efforts to prepare a next generation or a next phase of the movement for Kosen Rufu, it will stagnate and decline. So we got to be constantly raising people that are capable of replacing us as what? Mentors. As mentors, We're disciples in order to learn how to be mentors. We must become mentors or we miss the point entirely. Buddhahood is a mentor situation. It's a bodhisattva is a disciple kind of a thing. When we talk about being Buddhas just as we are, exactly as we are, that's what he's saying here about this. It's nothing that's that difficult because it's really all based on your compassion as a human being and understanding what's important in life as a human being. He says, the great undertaking of Kosen Rufu, we emphasize, requires fresh passion and energy appropriate to a new age. It is essential, therefore, for youth to rise into action. We need to believe in the power of youth. So that last sentence is the qualification that you've got to believe that there's somebody following you, following this generation, our movement, to replace us and to carry forward Kosen Rufu. Kosen Rufu isn't about having the oldest person always be in charge forever and ever and ever. Okay? The mentor does not stay the mentor. Right. If the disciples don't become mentors, the mentor then didn't really do his job. Right. Okay, he didn't prepare for the next age, and he's saying we need to believe in the power of those people that aren't yet qualified, but that we're training to take our place in the battle for Kosen Rufu. Okay, that's what he's saying. He says it was 60 years ago that Mr. Toda appointed me, then 25 years old, as the leader of the Young Men's Division, 1st Corps, in early January 1953, the year I was born. That was the real start to actualizing, that was a long time ago, right? So I better be working on figuring out how to encourage some replacements here. Okay, and that's why we read this every week, is to try to encourage you all to understand you are all much more than you give yourself credit for. You're not just members, you have a mission. Okay, that mission may be as simple as encouraging one person that's capable, that can do more than you've been able to do. And the two of you are linked. One didn't happen without the other. There's no separation between you and that individual that you encourage. All right? He says, that was the real start to actualizing my mentor's membership goal of 750,000 households. And everybody knows that President Toda famously said, if we haven't taken the organization to a membership level of 750,000 households by the time I die, then don't even have a funeral for me. Just throw my ashes in the Fuji River or whatever. I can't. It is the Fuji River or something like this. No, what is it? Whatever river it is. He says, throw my ashes in the river. Don't even have a funeral for me. I will have not achieved what I promised I would achieve. So the other thing here is, it's important that you have a sense of responsibility for achieving a goal that you determine. But you can't just go along without a goal for Kosen Rufu, or you're not functioning as a bodhisattva of the earth. Okay, bodhisattvas of the earth all have a goal called Kosen Rufu. All right? So your goal for Kosen Rufu is a very personal thing. It's not put upon you. You determine it yourself. You make an inner determination to accomplish it no matter what in your lifetime. Right? Okay, so he says, my mentor, bottom or second column, page 46. In quotations, my mentor is praying and waiting for a steady stream of genuine disciples to appear, I told myself. And I vowed, I will rally a great multitude of such youthful disciples and assemble them in front of President Toda. So again, this was all to repay his debt of gratitude to his mentor, Toki Jonin. Nanjo Tokimitsu. That's who I'm talking about here, right? Yeah. Ueno, Lord of Ueno. So Nanjo, same thing. His thing is, why is he giving this 1,000 coins, this offering, when he's completely broke? He puts the well-being of the mentor and his vow to protect him above everything. Okay? Above everything. Because of his faith. All right? So he says, I told myself and I vowed, I will rally a great multitude of such youthful disciples and assemble them in front of President Toda, which President Ikeda actually did. Because he made the determination, he could do that. Without making the determination, he could not have been able to gather the strength that was necessary to accomplish it. You have to have a genuine sense for Kosen Rufu. This can't be just like some bullshit play game thing. I want to become the Buddha before I die. You know, you've got to be bought into the fact that you're a bodhisattva of the earth. We just talked about that in the last gosho, right? That's serious as a heart attack kind of stuff. The Young Men's Division First Corps that I led started out with just 337 members. By the end of the year, it had tripled in size, reaching more than 1,000. From the moment of my appointment, I focused intently on finding capable people within the organization who could play a leading role in our movement, or rather, in my eyes, all the members shone as individuals with such immense potential. That's why, in an effort to get to know each young man, I made time to not only talk with them before and after meetings, but also to visit or meet with them personally and listen to what they had to say. So he's saying that this all occurred because I endeavored to have a personal relationship with everyone, imparting hope, courage, and inspiration to each person. It was on that basis that I could determine who might become a capable leader. It wasn't that I had some brilliance that I could say, you're going to be a capable leader. Oh, you'll make a capable leader. That was the problem in some of the organizations internationally. Frankly speaking, leaders were chosen, okay? They weren't brought forth based on a vow. Do you understand? People decided you're going to be a leader rather than allowing people to manifest those qualities themselves because of their own determination. And because those people didn't have that base root of the vow, a lot of those leaders went Titan. Once there was no longer a reason to lead on the basis of I'm a leader, okay, I've been chosen. Hey, you said how did I get this position if I don't already know everything? Well, there are a lot of people with positions that don't know everything. Okay, we're all in a process of continuous growth to the last moment of our life. Yes. So we should never ever think that we know everything. We should always be growing. I find that I am constantly. Okay, so he says, the better I got to know them, the more deeply, the better I got to know them, the more deeply I prayed that I would be able to help them grow into capable people for Kosen Rufu and forge solid connections with their mentor, President Toda. Okay, and why would he pray more deeply as he got to know them better? Because he would know what to pray for. He would know how to try to support them, what area of their life or their personality or their skill set as a human being could be contributed to Kosen Rufu in a meaningful way. And then he would pray to the Gohonzon for that to develop within that individual rather than, again, choosing people based on his opinion. He says, and it was all, again, to bring them back to President Toda. He's a 25-year-old kid. Does he know everything that he does now that he's talking and he's writing all these lectures? No, he's a new member, so to speak. He's 6 years member. He started when he was 19. All right, so this was President Toda teaching him how to become President Toda. This was President Toda teaching him how to become President Ikeda. Okay? So, because again, it's because he is like President Toda, because he's captured President Toda's spirit, that he's capable of doing all the things that he's done. That's what he's qualifying. We can all be just like that if we just take those same actions and have that same confidence. I want all of that. We need to believe in the power of youth. Youth need to believe in the power of youth. Okay? They won't be able to believe in it if they don't have anybody encouraging them. They have power. Okay? And expressing in their life a power they're saying you can emulate. You can do this. Okay? I had great leaders. That's the only reason I can talk to you the way I do. Only reason. All right? He says, the better I got to know them, the more deeply I prayed that I would be able to help them grow into capable people for Kosen Rufu and forge solid connections with their mentor, President Toda. I sometimes went to the communal bathhouse with them, invited them to my home, listened to records with them, and enjoyed conversations with them over meals. Those days remain with me today as fond memories. And if you guys have ever done shakabuku or ever started out as a honcho and then became, as a junior honcho and then became a honcho and then became a group leader and then ultimately were made a district chief and then made a chapter chief, you did a lot of this kind of stuff. That's how you grew your Han into a district, okay? And your district into a chapter, right? And that's what he's talking about. This is about how do we create the growth that's necessary for Kosen Rufu to be achieved rather than it just being happy talk. He says, those days remain with me as today as fond memories. They're fond memories for me too. I haven't done that kind of a practice in 20 or 25 years. I'm a lot older now than I was back then. It's less appropriate and a little bit more difficult for me to get out with young people now without seeming a little odd doing it. Okay? So, again, what he's explaining here, you have to see it in the broader context of how he's discussing it. He's not just discussing it to youth. He's discussing it to all of us. All of us. He's saying, okay, I always gave my all, and he has continued to, and that's what we should be doing. I put my heart and soul into sincerely encouraging the person right in front of me. We shared our problems and chanted together. We spread the Daishonen's teachings together and struggled side by side for Kosen Rufu. That's like the guy, this is the middle picture there, Renee, my friend that died. That's what we did together. My friend Rob in Las Vegas, that's what we did together. We're still close after 50 years. He says in the first column, page 47, midway, the possibility of realizing a harmonious family, Kosen Rufu, is the local community and world peace all start from one person standing up with hope and courage. Okay? And so what did that just say? What did that just say? This doesn't take a big group of people that get it. This can be just you. You can be the one that can make that change. President Toda is the one that made that change by embracing what President Ikeda is the one that made that change by embracing what President Toda is saying. He's qualifying that here. The possibility of realizing a harmonious family, because that's going to come as an outflow. Okay, they're going to see the growth in your life. They're going to be affected by it, and they will take note and heed it and be become affected to chant. They may not become members, but they won't have bad things to say about Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. They will believe in their heart. Kosen Rufu in the local community, which means that everybody's growing out this process of getting everybody to chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and to learn about the Daishonin's Buddhism. And world peace, the widespread reality of this occurring, not just in a culturally convenient country where everybody has everything in common like Japan, but even in culturally diverse countries like the US or the UK or Europe, places where a lot of people have immigrated from different parts of the world. They all start from one person taking on this challenge, this vow, and not giving in to the devilish functions that are going to try and keep them from being able to do it. He says, this is an unchanging and immutable formula. He says, this is the only way Kosen Rufu occurs, is from one person to the next, one person to the next. Successful development and prosperity will be found where capable people have been fostered, which means that they were given the attention that allowed their inner potential to manifest and come forward to the surface. This is an eternal principle. So he's saying there will never be any other formula for achieving Kosen Rufu or for growing the Soka Gakkai as an organization. It will always boil down to a life-to-life relationship with other people. That's why I've always felt I'm a little bit limited, even though we have a lot of people that watch on video. It's still not, it's life to life as it relates to my communication outbound, but I'm not able to communicate with each one of them in the intimate way that he's talking about here. So he's talking about finding something that's local to you, something that's personal to you, something that's physically real to you, not just doing it all online or going to a meeting and then talking to everybody after the meeting and leaving again. He's talking about actually caring about the people that are there and choosing people that you think that you might be able to help grow. Okay? In this chapter, page 47, first column, last paragraph. In this chapter, I will discuss Nichiren Daishonin's writing, The Wealthy Man Sudatta, which he addressed to his youthful follower, Nanjo Tokimitsu. Let us study the Daishonin spirit of fostering capable individuals so that a steady stream of Nanjo Tokimitsus will emerge in our local areas. Top of page 47, second column. Encouraging a follower struggling amid adversity. The letter was sent to Tokimitsu in December 1280. The most intense phase of the Asahara persecution had taken place the previous year, when the authorities arrested and subsequently executed several of the Daishonin's believers who were farmers. The Asahara persecution had been triggered by an unprecedented number of people in the Fuji area of Suruga province converting to the Daishonin's teaching. This arose from the intense propagation efforts by local believers led by the Daishonin's disciple Nikko Shonin, Nikko Shonin. It is thought that the situation in Suruga was still quite tense when this letter was written. During the height of the Asahara persecution, Nanjo Tokimitsu acted to protect his fellow believers. Without concern for his personal situation, he took a number of the believers into his home and, as befitted a youth, fought courageously to safeguard them. The secular authorities and influential priests of established Buddhist schools in the area did not take kindly to Tokimitsu's efforts to defend the Daishonin's teachings, however. As the Daishonin writes, they, local priests and their followers, made claims against the believers in Asahara and have been obstructing us wherever they can. In fact, at about the time the Daishonin wrote this letter, Tokimitsu was experiencing great economic hardship as a result of the authorities imposing heavy punitive taxes on his estate and demanding that he supply men for unpaid labor on public works, at the top of page 48. Yet he still came up with a 1,000 coin offering to make sure that the Daishonin had some money to be able to get the necessities that he needed to make it through the winter. But instead of worrying about himself, it goes on at the top of page 48, first column, Tokimitsu was more concerned about Nichiren's welfare as the new year approached in the snowbound mountains of Minobu, and he prepared and sent him an offering in the form of coins. This letter expresses the Daishonin's great gratitude for his young followers' sincere support. May I have a tissue, please? Thank you. Thank you. For his sincere support. Continuing on page 48. The way to become a Buddha easily. And this is very trick, but it's very, very clear and it's very cool because it's the truth. I will teach you, from the gosho now. Middle of page 48, first column. I will teach you how to become a Buddha easily. Teaching another something is the same as oiling the wheels of a cart so that they turn even though the cart is heavy, or as floating a boat on water so that it moves ahead easily. At that time, the 3 obstacles and 4 devils and the 3 powerful enemies of Buddhism buffeted the Daishonen's followers in Suruga province with unrelenting onslaughts. Don't forget, Ryokan was actually involved in this. So you had not only arrogant lay people, arrogant priests, and then arrogant arhats, so to speak. The Daishonin no doubt hoped that Tokimitsu, as a follower in that area, would establish unshakable faith and remain steadfast in his Buddhist practice to triumph over such adversity. So what is President Ikeda qualifying? That he knows is necessary and that the Daishonin must have hoped for Tokimitsu to be able to embrace in his own life for the purpose of him being able to fulfill his mission for Kosen Rufu. What's it say there? The Daishonin no doubt hoped that Tokimitsu, as a follower in that area, would establish unshakable faith, because that's what it takes, because the shit's going to hit the fan. And to do what we're talking about, to become a leader like this, is not simple, and it's not something that's not fraught with peril as it relates to the 3 obstacles and the 4 devils. Okay? Unshakable faith and remain steadfast. What's remain steadfast talking about? That this isn't something that you do for a while or it has some temporary kind of a thing. You apply this to your daily life. Steadfastly is every day, every day, every day. We do gongo steadfastly. We continue with our faith steadfastly. In his Buddhist practice to triumph over such adversity. In order to triumph over such adversity. That's when the big stuff hits the fan. Somebody's got to be there with the strength and the courage and the wisdom to show everybody else how to make their way through. All right? He's saying on the bottom of page 48, first column, in this letter, the Daishonin tells him that there is a way to become a Buddha easily, teaching the way to become a Buddha means to lead one to enter unerringly into the orbit of happiness and victory. It is the way by which anyone can become happy. So what is he really alluding to there? Doing shakabuku and being shakabuku. That's the easy way to become a Buddha. All you got to do is do shakabuku. You will become a Buddha. Okay? It's as easy and as simple as that. All right? Moreover, it is the way for them to do so easily, because that's the natural way a bodhisattva displays their innate Buddhahood. Don't forget, bodhisattva and Buddha are not different. They're not separated. Voice hearer, cause awakened ones, and bodhisattvas are all component elements of what a Buddha is. All right? So this is all about the compassion of a bodhisattva, the compassion of a real believer. What does that compassion lead to then? What always comes from compassion? What is only born from compassion? Wisdom. So you want to become a Buddha? Have the compassion to be a bodhisattva. That's what he just talked about. That's not that difficult. It just is a matter of you caring, okay, enough to give a shit. Moreover, it is the way for them to do so easily, because that's what it takes to practice. You'll go Titan if you don't do those things. You'll stop chanting, you know. This is the path that the Daishonin says he will teach Tokimitsu through his own behavior. This is how the Daishonin is behaving. To his young follower who is facing great challenges, nothing could have been more gratifying. In a letter he wrote the previous year, the Daishonin praised Tokimitsu for his valiant efforts amid the Atsuhara persecution, calling him Ueno the worthy. He also encouraged him in the same letter, saying, "My wish is that all my disciples make a great vow." So he's saying to him without saying, you need to make a great vow, Tokimitsu. He's letting him know in that letter, my wish is that all of my disciples make a great vow. So a disciple hearing the mentor say that is going to feel a responsibility to look a little deeper And especially if they're being encouraged by the mentor, you have every ability that I have. There's whatever you look up to me about is what you're already developing in your own life, and you will be looked up to as well. This is cause and effect. It's nothing more than that. It's as simple as that. It's as easy as that. It's cause and effect. Have your compassion expressed through action, and that action will then become wisdom. It'll be the responsibility of the responsible effort that created the wisdom. The wisdom won't come from just reading a bunch of stuff or knowing a bunch of stuff or talking to people that you just agree with. Okay? It'll come from defending the law and caring about kosen rufu, which means developing capable people and propagating this to everybody that we can propagate it to, right? Middle of page 48, second column. In response to the Daishonen's encouragement, Tokimitsu had been exerting himself earnestly as a disciple. In response to the Daishonen's encouragement. So the encouragement must have been saying, you can do this. Don't always look up to me forever to be the teacher. Someday you have to be the teacher. That's what he's saying. Right. Okay? Tokimitsu had been exerting himself earnestly as a disciple. Viewed objectively, he was on a certain course to attain Buddhahood because of his faith and practice, his own faith and practice. But all young people are anxious about the way ahead, wondering, is this my correct path? Did I make a mistake? My kids, it's like, this is exactly how my children are. That's exactly how we have to behave towards those that we encourage. Giving them the confidence that they are Buddhas exactly as they are. They don't have to become perfect people to be Buddhas exactly as they are. They have to have the compassion of the Bodhisattva, and the wisdom of the Buddha will appear in their life.
Yes.
All right? He says, they worry precisely because they wish to improve, to grow, to advance even a little beyond where they are right now. Affirming young people's pure-hearted wish to grow, helping them achieve their full potential, respecting their desire for personal development, and praising and warmly supporting them toward that end. These are the keys to fostering youth. These are the keys to kosen rufu. These are the keys to a happy family. These are the keys to a successful company. These are the keys to any endeavor, actually. All right? At the bottom of page 48, second column. In this letter, the Daishonin shows that we cannot teach others through coercion, or I'll fire you. That isn't going to work. Okay? Through coercion or by trying to dictate to them from a position of superiority. Let me say that again, because a lot of leaders don't understand this point. Because maybe their leaders didn't understand this point. And that's why we read it from President Ikeda, so we can understand this point. In this letter, the Daishonin shows that we cannot teach others through coercion or threatening them or, browbeating them or, embarrassing them or whatever, or by trying to dictate them, telling them they have to do this from a position of superiority. When one oils the wheels of a cart, when one oils the wheels, a cart can go forward in spite of its heavy weight. When one floats a boat, it can sail ahead easily. These are both examples of facilitating smooth forward movement. In other words, at the top of page 49, first column. In other words, the important point is to make it easy for someone to move forward while recognizing that it is up to that individual and to actually do the moving forward. We don't take upon ourselves the challenges that are theirs to overcome. Did you understand what that just meant? That meant that being this type of a mentor and having this compassion and determination for kosen rufu, okay, does not include us then suddenly taking responsibility for their lives as it relates to the actions that we've taken that they must also take. Okay? It's up to them to take those actions. They may or may not. In time, they may give up. They may not be able to deal with the forces of opposition that their karma are going to bring out for them to overcome. Instead, they'll be defeated by them. Okay? And so he's saying, when you encourage someone, it doesn't mean you became responsible for their lives. That's not the point. You're responsible for your life. Your life is responsible to try and foster as many capable people for Kosamrufu as you can. It's each individual's responsibility then to emulate you, because you're emulating your teacher, okay, who emulated their teacher. All right? This is all mentor-disciple. You're doing the things that are required to become a mentor. They have to do the things that are required to be a disciple so that they can become a mentor. Okay? We don't take upon ourselves the challenges that are theirs to overcome. This isn't of Jesus stuff. Right. Okay? That's the point. Okay? We don't get any, we don't get anything for being nailed to the cross for them. No. Okay? No, we don't. Okay? We're there to keep them from ever getting up on it. All right? Similarly, the aim of education, teaching another something, lies in fostering people who have the strength to withstand life's challenges. So what did that just say? Similarly, the aim of education, teaching another something, lies in fostering people who have the strength to withstand life's challenges. They've got a standalone spirit. You taught them how to have one because you have one. All right? You're not a wimpo. You don't crumble at the first sign of adversity, and you teach them how not to be scared by adversity either through your example. Okay? So what we're trying to do is we have to find people that are true bodhisattvas of the earth. Not everybody that starts chanting will keep chanting. If we assume all of them will keep chanting, we'd be in great shape. But they won't all keep chanting. They won't be able to withstand the adversity. Not all of them are actually at the stage of karma where they can practice to the last moment of their lives and validate the fact that they are true bodhisattvas of the earth. Okay? So he's saying, we got to go find those bodhisattvas of the earth, is what he's saying right there. I'll say it again. Similarly, the aim of education. Why do we teach this? Okay? It's no different than I complained about, I didn't check in the last day, but there still haven't been a full 100 people that have read the opening of the eyes, even though it was all read out loud for them to be able to just listen to. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Not everybody that acts interested is going to stay interested, and not everybody that acts interested is acting interested out of the correct perception of the challenge that's going to meet them if they go forward with what they're volunteering to go forward with. And they have to take a vow, because it's going to be so hard, they're definitely going to want to stop. Okay? There's going to be difficulty. So, teaching another something lies in fostering people who have the strength to withstand life's challenges. The same is true in Buddhism. All people must shape their own destiny. So it's not you as the mentor that is responsible for them doing that. They take your encouragement and pull what's already inside them out. You're not giving them anything. Okay? You're encouraging what's already there to come forth and manifest. You with me? Yeah. All people must shape their own destiny. The aim of Buddhism is to build strong people who can do just that. Everyone possesses the noble life state of Buddhahood, so there isn't anybody that can't do that. The question is whether or not they will do that. Do you understand? It's not a lack of capacity to do so. It's a lack of courage to continue in the face of the shit hitting the fan. Yes. The difficulty. Yes. Everyone possesses the noble life state of Buddhahood. Everyone can can, that means they have the ability to, they are able to, everyone can advance triumphantly on the supreme path of happiness. So we don't have to worry about choosing which ones can and which ones won't make it. We don't do it that way. But we understand it's their responsibility. That's why we encourage everyone equally. When we awaken to the fact that we have within us the life state of Buddhahood as vast as the universe itself, and what would that be? When we awaken to the fact that we have within us the life state of Buddhahood as vast as the universe itself, what is that saying? When we have attained Buddhahood in our present form, there is no difficulty we cannot surmount. When we bring forth our inherent strength, we can challenge boldly the tasks that lie before us each day with confidence and joy, even when they are difficult and not so much fun for that moment. All right? The same is true of the principle of transforming karma. Each of us must confront and deal with our karma or destiny ourselves. And that's what we're teaching them. Yeah. Because we've done that already. Once we know we have within us the power to change any karma, we can find meaning in our adversity. We can find meaning in our adversity, which means the adversity will still be there because we're the Buddha. That never stops, right? But the meaning is our compassion for others, and that meaning is what actually gives rise to the wisdom of being the Buddha. Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, let me say it again. The same is true of the principle of transforming karma, because now we're not talking about so much helping other people. This is for those of us that still have problems, and we're trying to figure out how to fix those problems. He's saying each of us, so in other words, you, must confront and deal with your karma and destiny yourself, is what he's saying. Once you know you have within you the power to change anything, you can find meaning in that adversity, because it's no longer something that's an encumberment or something that you're afraid of. It's validating what a badass you are. You get another chance to show everybody how to be a Buddha in your present form. There's no greater honor. There's nothing more fun than kicking devil ass. That's exactly what that is. Okay? We can change karma into mission. Our mission becomes to be bodhisattvas of the earth, guiding examples of the power of the law. Page 49, second column, guidance, education, training, and support. In this context, we can interpret oiling the wheels of a cart and floating a boat on water as important keys to developing capable people. Okay? Becoming a mentor. That's what we're doing when we're developing capable people. We're becoming a mentor. From Mr. Toda, I learned 4 vital cornerstones of fostering capable people: guidance, education, training, and support. These can be defined roughly as follows. 1, guidance is helping people challenge and overcome their weaknesses and fear so that they can become happy. 2, education is setting an example and taking action together. 3, training is trusting, entrusting and giving people opportunities to practice what they have learned. And 4, support is recognizing people's efforts, whether successful or not, and praising and looking out for each individual. Let us assume, for example, that there are young people in our district or local area who feel overwhelmed by real problems and challenges, because they are real for them. They're young. They haven't gone through life to the point that they've learned all the lessons that they will as they continue. We can talk to them about the benefits of practicing Nichiren Buddhism so that they can break through their lack of self-confidence and do their human revolution. We tell them our stories. We tell them our experiences, and we have lives that demonstrate that we've overcome those adversities. We can tell them that they can draw forth the same power of the Buddha we all have within us, helping them summon up courage. This is guidance, but we can't give them guidance by just making up stuff that we heard somebody else say. It has to come from our own experience, our own lives. Okay? He says, bottom paragraph and on page, second column, page 49. We can join them in talking about Buddhism with their friends and other activities for Kosen Rufu and use these as opportunities to set a concrete example for them to follow. This is education. So we go out with them and help them. We do whatever we can for them in whatever way they request it. In addition, top of page 50, it's important for young people to gain a clear idea of how to carry out activities, feel that they can do them and feel that they can do them too, and actually set out to do so. If they feel that it's beyond their ability, they'll hesitate to even try. To take one step forward and begin engaging in such activities of their own initiative, that is the start of training. But he's also making the qualification of their own initiative. So you're looking for people that want to take on initiative. They're expressing that aspect of being able to take on the mentor mantle in time. Finally, page 50, first column. Finally, believing in the inherent capability of young people and encouraging them sincerely so that they can develop without constraint. That is support. Only when all four of these cornerstones are solidly in place can we truly foster capable people for Kosen Rufu. The effectiveness of these four cornerstones will also ultimately depend on the extent to which those doing the fostering can develop their own lives and progress in their own human revolution. So you can't be a wannabe, you've got to be doing the deal. All right? We don't need special abilities to provide guidance and training because it's all about courageous, correct faith. An attitude of striving for mutual growth is what matters. I know I'm growing because I'm trying to help you grow. I appreciate you. You know, I love you because you help me grow. Without me wanting to try to help you grow, I wouldn't have done things that made me grow. This is the truth and the reality of this Buddhism. Okay? So, or rather, through chanting for others' growth and regularly engaging in dialogue with them, both we and they can grow. In Buddhism, fostering capable people. So what did that just say? You ain't going to grow if you're not trying to help anybody else grow. And if you've stopped growing, it's only a matter of time before your faith atrophies and you won't make it to the end of your life. Trust me, that's the way it works. You don't deserve to. You didn't make the cause to. Okay? All right. So, because you didn't validate that you're a bodhisattva of the earth, and bodhisattvas of the earth are the ones that never go Titan. They never quit. They always grow to the last moment of their lives because they continue to be bodhisattvas at the same time that they're Buddhists. All right? In Buddhism, fostering capable people does not entail pressing individuals into a mold, forcing them to fit some preconceived notion of an ideal, capable person. This aim is to enable each person's individuality to shine its brightest. Now, quite often that doesn't happen in the organization that I used to practice in. Okay? So I hope that it is now a mainstay that everybody's given the freedom to express their individuality at the same time they're growing as mentors, growing as capable people. Okay? Because we don't need a bunch of cookie cutters. You know, if everybody's identical to Daisaku Ikeda, there's going to be a limited number of people that are going to be able to be encouraged in that way. They don't have the same demeanor as a Daisaku Ikeda. If we only know this Toda to Akeda kind of approach. We have to have that's why it takes all of us. That's why he's saying there's nobody that's excluded here, ever, ever, ever. We all have our own unique mission, and it can be nothing more than sustaining our practice throughout our lives. The foundation of the aim is to enable each person's individuality to shine its brightest. The foundation of the SGIs fosters efforts. The foundation of the SGI's efforts to foster capable people is to enable all people to demonstrate their unique inner potential to the fullest, because they will then be able to go shakabuku people like them. Then, harmonizing the individuality of each person in the spirit of many in body, one in mind, we advance Kosen Rufu, aiming for the happiness of ourselves and others. We each manifest our noble mission as bodhisattvas of the earth. Now, do you understand what he's saying there? I don't remember, I sometimes get the fruits mixed up, cherry, damson, plum, and something else, persimmon, I don't know. The 4 different kinds of fruits, but they're all tasty fruits, right? There's all kinds of different people. So what he's basically saying, we then harmonizing the individuality of each person in the spirit of being bodhisattvas of the earth, regardless of our inherent characteristics as individuals. Do you understand? We have to be able to get all get along, even though we're not all the same, right? All right. Then we advance Kosen Rufu, because again, the more we expand different people all becoming leaders, the more different kind of people will all become disciples and then ultimately become mentors themselves. Right. All right. We each manifest our noble mission as bodhisattvas of the earth, he says, in this process. Sincere commitment is the key to attaining Buddhahood. The way from the gosho, the way to become a Buddha is nothing special. Page 50, middle of the second column. The way to become a Buddha easily is nothing special. It is the same as giving water to a thirsty person in a time of drought, or as providing fire for a person freezing in the cold. Or again, it is the same as giving another something that is one of a kind, or as offering something as alms to another, even at the risk of one's life. Continuing with the lecture from President Ikeda. The way to become a Buddha easily is nothing special, the Daishonin says. First, it is providing others with what they need, he writes. For instance, giving water to a thirsty person, or providing fire to someone who is freezing. In the bodhisattva practice of almsgiving as well, it is when one provides something that the recipient is truly seeking that the act of almsgiving becomes meaningful. Second, the Daishonin says the way to become a Buddha easily is to offer something that is one of a kind, or something without which one cannot preserve one's own life. Both of these statements can be interpreted as the highest praise for Nanjo Tokimitsu's sincerity in making an offering to the Daishonin. He is saying that this gift demonstrates that Tokimitsu is already engaged in the practice of becoming a Buddha, walking the path to enlightenment. People tend to think that attaining Buddhahood requires austere and difficult forms of practice, like that undertaken by the boy Snow Mountains, who was willing to give his most precious possession, his life, for the sake of the law. But when hearing such stories, ordinary people in the latter day become convinced that such a path is beyond what they can do. Regarding this, Nichiren states, ordinary people keep in mind the words earnest resolve or sincere commitment. That's all you need, and thereby become Buddhists through your sincere commitment and earnest resolve, your steadfastness and the strength of your faith. When we offer something precious and important to us, then in spirit our offering is the same as that of the boy Snow Mountains. And when we devote our lives to Kosen Rufu, it's no different than offering them to the demon to eat, just like Snow Mountains. Okay? In fact, it's harder than being able to just jump in the mouth of the demon and gain Buddhahood from that. Okay? When we offer something precious and important to us, then in spirit, our offering is the same as that of the boy Snow Mountains, who was willing to give his life to a demon in exchange for hearing an important Buddhist teaching. For us, this means pledging to carry out Kosen Rufu in the course of our daily lives, while living life to the fullest. In doing so, we devote our lives to Buddhism and thereby open the life state of Buddhahood within us. We become Buddhas in our present form. We become living examples of the proof of actual fact. The Daishonin's teaching is correct. You can become a Buddha just as you are without changing anything about who you are. To return to this letter, Nanjo Tokimitsu's offering represents his dedicated commitment to Buddhist practice. So his attainment of Buddhahood is guaranteed, the Daishonin says. And so what does that tell you? Your Buddhahood is also guaranteed. Dedicated commitment to Buddhist practice based on your dedicated Buddhist practice. All right? Top of page 51, second column. The actions of King Golden Color and Sudatta. In the passage that follows this excerpt, the Daishonin reveals through the stories of King Golden Color, Shakyamuni Buddha in a previous existence, and the wealthy man Sudatta, a lay follower of Shakyamuni, that the act of offering something precious allows one to accumulate immeasurable good fortune and benefit. In the first story, the people of the land that King Golden Color ruled suffered from terrible drought and famine. The king aroused a great aspiration to save others and offered his own last remaining rice to the people. As if responding to the king's compassion, the heavenly deities made rainfall, saving the people's lives. In the second, the wealthy man called Sudatta became poor and then rich again 7 times. During the final 7th time, he experienced poverty. He gladly offered his last remaining rice to Shakyamuni and his disciples. The benefit of that selfless act was that he became the wealthiest man in all of India. It is indeed true that as the Daishonin says, that one's heart is most important. And that's why it doesn't matter. Anything else doesn't matter. It's your heart. It's where you're coming from. Are you a disciple of the true Buddha? Are you willing to not begrudge your life? That's what this is all about. It is indeed true, as the Daishonin says, that one's heart is most important. No matter how difficult or challenging our circumstances, and they'll always be reflecting our karma, so there's nothing to feel bad about or blaming anyone for or be jealous of. Our karma is our karma because we said we're badass enough to take on that karma, period. Okay? No matter how difficult or challenging our circumstances, we must never be defeated in our hearts. That's called doubt-free faith. Mugi washing, baby. There is no need to despair or belittle ourselves. I'm so terrible because I still have these problems. No, that isn't the appropriate way to view it at all. The Daishonin teaches that we simply need to do the very best we can. That's all it is. That's all the Daishonin did. He did the very best he could. President Ikeda does the very best he can. We should have the same spirit. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be like another person. All right? In our own way, for the sake of Buddhism and the happiness of others. We do it all for the sake of the law. Yes. The treasures of the heart that we accumulate in the process will enrich our lives, bring us happiness and benefit, and give rise to unsurpassed fortune. We'll become Buddhas in our present form. Tokimitsu must have been deeply touched by the Daishonin spirit, encouraging him through these anecdotes of King Golden Color and Sudatta. The Daishonin tells him, from this lesson you should understand all things. Both King Golden Color, who was ready to give his all for the people, and Sudatta, who made offerings to the Buddha and his disciples in spite of his own poverty, lived with a spirit of selfless devotion. This spirit resonates with that of the youthful Tokimitsu, who struggled alongside the Daishonin in a time of great adversity, never retreating a single step. Adversity is a turning point for elevating our life state. Adversity is a turning point. We should always understand that's what that is. For elevating our life state. No doubt upon, thank you, excuse me. Middle of page 52, first column. No doubt upon reading this letter, Tokimitsu felt that his mentor fully understood his heart. Tokimitsu was experiencing a period of severe privation, but if he fought on with determination through this challenging time, he could gain immeasurable good fortune and benefit, he's being encouraged and told. He could walk the great path of revealing the life state of a Buddha. He had no need to worry, he was being encouraged. Knowing that he was at a turning point when he could greatly elevate his state of life, he must have experienced a surge of emotion and determination. There is nothing more wonderful than having a mentor. There's nothing more wonderful than having that person that you can turn to when you're feeling weak and defeated. You're in the 9 worlds and you're trying to pull the 10th out and it's tough. There's nothing better than to have somebody that has wisdom because they've already gone through the same shit themselves. And so, if they can give you that encouragement because they went through that shit, then that must mean that your shit has value too, as an experience. That's why he's saying adversity is the turning point on elevating our life state. We can only give that encouragement because we've experienced it ourselves. We can't just say, well, I read, President Keita says. That's not very encouraging to people, someone suffering. Your personal experience is what is going to make the difference. That's why they know you. That's why you know them. Continuing, second column, page 52 at the top. The Daishonin had continued to watch over Tokimitsu's growth ever since he had first met him as a young boy. He had been there when Tokimitsu's father died in 1265. Pardon me. When Tokimitsu was young, I think he was only 6 years old or something, right? Earlier in the year in which Nichiren sent him this letter, Tokimitsu had rejoiced over the birth of his son and grieved over the sudden death of his youngest brother, which we read about, right? For whom the Daishonin had also held great high hopes. Then President Keita makes this point. Life has its peaks and valleys, just like Nanjo Tokimitsu's did, all right? Just like the Daishonins did, just like President Keita's had, President Toda's did. I mean, there's nobody worthy of looking up to that I can think of that, everybody that encouraged me had to go through a lot of crap, okay? Life has its peaks and valleys. I sure have, lots of peaks and valleys. Drawing on the light of Buddhism and the lessons of King Golden Color and Sudatta, the Daishonin teaches Tokimitsu that no matter how painful and difficult the situation, those who strive in earnest will attain a lofty state of life. That's what my mentors taught me. To behave with Buddhist compassion is to be mindful of the feelings of those who are struggling. It is to do whatever we can to alleviate, even a little, the pain of those whose hearts are filled with sorrow, who despair over life's bitter challenges. And it will have bitter challenges. It is to give hope to those who try their hardest in difficult circumstances. It is to impart courage to those who are stuck and unable to find a way forward. And it is to teach, show, and awaken others to the fact that they have within them the power to overcome every problem and enable them to actually tap that power and overcome their every problem. These are also extremely important points in fostering capable people, but they're extremely important points in being bodhisattvas of the earth. We try to help people remove the causes of suffering and face the challenges of daily life in high spirits. And face the challenges of daily life is to help them understand and not be, blown away by the fact you have to change. Your problems can only be changed by you. I can give you input on how I was able to change mine, but that's as far as I can take you. You must chant the Daimoku. You must have the same faith. You must overcome it just like I did. Just like the person that told me I could did. That's the deal. We try to help people remove the causes of suffering and face the challenges of daily life in high spirits by bringing forth their inner strength, by showing them ours. We try to help them realize that they are certain to win in the end by showing them the victory that we accomplished. I will never be defeated. I will absolutely win. When they awaken to this conviction, that's a conviction. That's doubt-free faith. That's Mookie washing, baby. I will never be defeated. I will absolutely win. This is the teaching of my mentor. I will not give in. You can't make me quit. You can't kill me. When they awaken to this conviction in the depths of their being, and we're talking about in the depths of their being, they can't, passively or casually perceive that. When they've embraced it in the way that you embraced it, which is what you're trying to teach them to be able to do, they can take action with courage and determination. All right? This is the supreme education for leading a meaningful life that Nanjo Tokimitsu received from the Daishonin. So he's saying, this is the only way that you, as an individual, have eternal ID. It's your legacy as a human being. Is what you taught others. That's what will be taught and spoken about you. This is the supreme education for leading a meaningful life that Nanjo Tokimitsu received from the Daishonin. So that's the education we should try to accomplish as well. The protection of the heavenly deities is assured, page 53, first column, to the gosho. Just as a monkey resembles a man and a rice cake resembles the moon, you already resemble the votary of Lotus Sutra. Because you so earnestly protected my followers in Asahara, the people of Suruga province consider you to be like Masakato of Shohei era, or Sudatta of the Tinggi era, who were viewed as imperial traitors. This is solely because you have devoted your life to the Lotus Sutra. The heavenly gods do not in the least regard you as a man who has betrayed his Lord by supporting the people that were being persecuted at Asahara when your Lord was the one persecuting them. You understand what he's saying there? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here, the Daishonin says that because Tokimitsu protected his fellow believers during the Asahara persecution, in the same spirit as the Daishonin, he resembles the votary of Lotus Sutra. So he's saying, here the Daishonin says that because Tokimitsu protected his fellow believers during the Asahara persecution with the same mind as Nichiren. He says in the same spirit, but that's reflecting being of one mind with his mentor. He resembles his mentor, the votary of the Lotus Sutra. He is the same as his mentor. He is a votary of the Lotus Sutra. Of course, there would be nothing strange in saying that Tokimitsu is a votary of the Lotus Sutra, but we can assume that Nichiren says that he resembles one because he wishes to encourage Tokimitsu's future growth. The Daishonin also mentions how Tokimitsu fought hard to protect his fellow believers during the Asahara persecution. He adds, however, that the people of Suruga surely consider him to be like the warriors Taira no Masakato or Abe no Sadato, who were killed, or imperial traitors in past eras. The feudal thinking underlying this is that even those who are in the right go against The feudal thinking underlying this is that even those who are in the right go against the accepted moral code if they disobey their feudal lord or ruler. But the Daishonin confidently encourages Tokimitsu that since all his actions were for the sake of the Lotus Sutra, as they would be because he's of the same mind as Nichiren, the heavenly deities have taken note and will surely protect him without fail. This passage demonstrates how clearly and accurately the Daishonin grasped Tokimitsu's situation. The knowledge that his mentor understood his situation so well must surely have been a source of great comfort to him. And the Daishonin's declaration that the heavenly deities were protecting him would no doubt have strengthened his conviction. Giving humanistic guidance that is mindful of other situations and arises from a spirit to warmly embrace and support them will certainly produce capable people. This principle of cherishing each individual applies equally today. Youth is a time of many worries and concerns. If young people have someone who understands and encourages them, they can deal with their problems with self-confidence and freely bring forth their inner potential. Last 2 pages, guys, we're almost there. Page 54, top of the first column. I hope our men and women will warmly watch over the youth and continually encourage them. The future of Kosen Rufu is determined by the youth. Those who nurture capable individuals for Kosen Rufu are the true treasures of our movement. Encouraging family members as well. In addition, having had numerous public works forcibly assigned to your little village, this is from the gosho, you yourself lack the horse you should be riding, and your wife and children lack the clothing they should be wearing. You're feeling anxious that the votary of Lotus Sutra was probably being assailed by snow amidst the mountains of Minobu and in want of food, and sending me 1,000 coins even in such circumstances is exactly like the poor woman giving a begging monk the single garment that she and her husband wore, or like Rita giving the millet in his jar to a Pratyeka Buddha. How admirable, how noble. Bottom of page 54, first column. Exploiting their positions of power, the authorities imposed heavy punitive taxes on Tokimitsu's small estate and demanded that he supply men for unpaid labor. This reduced him and his family to such poverty that even though he was a member of the warrior class, he did not have a horse to ride, nor could he afford suitable clothing for his wife and children. Yet even in those distressed circumstances, Tokimitsu continued to send offerings to support the Daishonin at Minobu. Nichiren Daishonin writes that Tokimitsu, no doubt concerned about the Daishonin's impoverished condition as the new year approached, had managed to scrape together 1,000 coins as an offering. The Daishonin again expresses his deep appreciation and highest praise for Tokimitsu's devotion. In this section, we can see that the Daishonin warmly highlights not only the dedicated efforts of Tokimitsu, but those of his wife as well. There's no separation between husband and wife. On reading this letter, Tokimitsu's wife must have felt that Daishonin's kind consideration expressed in such phrases as your wife and children, and she, a poor woman, and her husband. Furthermore, the Daishonin praises them, saying, how admirable, how noble, and expresses his appreciation for their sincerity. I believe that they felt real joy knowing that Nichiren was warmly watching over them. In this way, by reassuring Tokimitsu's family, Nichiren enabled him to strive even harder. His inclination of such thoughtful expressions reflects his compassion. The compassionate light of Nichiren's teachings embraces all people, bringing them peace and comfort and filling them with energy and vitality. Taking into account people's individual circumstances is an essential part of fostering capable people. Do they have any worries? How is their environment? Are they struggling with some problem beneath the surface? Such concern for the happiness and welfare of each person arises from a sense of responsibility, the foundation of which is compassion, which is where their wisdom is coming from. Chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo at the top of page 55 enables us to develop the ability to imagine what others are going through. It enables us to engage our Buddha wisdom and to be able to perceive what would normally not be able to be perceived. All right? Because our purpose is to carry on Kosen Rufu. The SGI is carrying on this humanistic philosophy of Nichiren Daishonin, which is why it has been able to build a global network of good. And an organization that produces capable people, in the middle of page 55, first column. Mr. Toda used to say that capable individuals aren't inherently special or different. I'll say it again. President Toda used to say that capable individuals aren't inherently special or different. It's all a matter of polishing their capacity. And in precisely that way, he took me, an ordinary young man, and thoroughly trained me. I have devoted myself wholeheartedly to fostering capable people out of a wish to repay the debt of gratitude I owe my mentor. and I am determined to do everything I possibly can to keep fostering capable people into the future. Deciding that those with less experience than you have the potential to surpass you and to train them to surpass you, which is what I'm trying to do, for seniors to have this spirit is the Soka Gakkai tradition. So like I said, you guys shouldn't be playing people tapes of me talking 40 years from now. You should be doing the talking. Deciding that those with less experience than you have the potential to surpass you, to train you to surpass them. For seniors to have this spirit is the Soka Gakkai tradition. The fundamental spirit of Soka leaders is to enable everyone to become happy, to grow into outstanding individuals, and to exercise fully their strengths and potential. After the Osaka campaign of 1956, Mr. Toda said to me, if the movement for Kosen-rufu continues to progress, we will produce many talented people in every area of society. There will be Soka Gakkai members working devotedly in every field for prosperity in society and peace for humanity. In other words, the Soka Gakkai will come to play a central role in shouldering the creation of peace and culture for all humankind. It will become a great education body for fostering capable individuals to achieve those aims. Our essential task is building people of character. Our movement for human revolution will spread around the world, President Toda said, quote, end quote. And you can see I have stars all the way around this. Just as my mentor, middle of page 55, second column, just as my mentor envisaged, capable members of Soka have now emerged all around the globe. Our youth division members are developing circles of trust in their families, communities, and societies, and they will come to play a central role for the victory of all people. Our movement for human revolution is now unfolding on a global scale. Soka youth continue to emerge in ever-growing numbers as protagonists of the new era of worldwide Kosen-rufu. I declare, together with all my beloved fellow members, that nothing can stop the powerful stream of capable people who are emerging in the SGI to dedicate themselves to worldwide Kosen-rufu. With deep appreciation for the efforts and struggles of all of our noble members over the past year, Daisaku Ikeda. Now all of us are going to enjoy some turkey. Thank you for everybody that came and listened today. Be safe. Bye.
Thank you.